In today's video, we're going to be talking about modes. In over 20 years of teaching and 5 as a college professor of guitar, this is the one thing that guitar players confuse the most. And it's a lot easier than you think. Today in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what is happening with modes. Modes aren't scales necessarily, they're tonalities. So what is a mode? It's more than just a scale. It's a relationship between a chord and its appropriate notes. In other words, a mode is the sound produced when you have a chord and the appropriate tones that go with that chord. Before we begin our lesson, there's a few prerequisites that you'll need to have to be able to understand everything here. First is understanding the chromatic scale, which is the musical alphabet, all 12 notes found anywhere on your guitar. So that's going to be C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, B, and then back to C natural. We then are going to take this and we're going to do it cycle 4 around the neck. C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, and G. And it's a really good idea to be able to play that on all strings, maybe at 150 beats per minute. And then you can take a note such as F and be able to find that note all over the place. Okay? So those are a few simple things that you can do a couple minutes a day to get going with this music theory for the guitar thing. The next thing is, in another video we talked about the major scales. Knowing the major scales from the net, the last fret on your guitar. So if I was going to do C major, the lowest note that I have available that I can fret is F. And so I can play F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Starts on the 4th note of the scale, so we call it the 4th pattern. Starting on G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. It starts on G, which is the 5th note of the scale, so we call it pattern 5. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That starts on the note A, which is the 6th note of the key of C, so we call it pattern 6. B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. That started on B, so it's the 7th pattern. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. That started on C, the root of our scale, so we're going to call that pattern 1. Starting on D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. That started on D, so we're calling that pattern 2. And finally, pattern 3, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So it's found in that location for the key of C simply because of where F is. If we were in the key of F, F would be pattern 1. So these patterns, we have 12 keys, we have 7 patterns per key. That means there's 84 patterns of the major scale. So it takes a couple of weeks probably to get this ingrained in your playing, but the overall proficiency check that I like to use is going to be a question. Play blank key from blank pattern. So for example, if I said play pattern 6 of the key of B flat major, I would start on the 6th scale degree of B flat, which is G, and play pattern 6. And I would get the notes G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, which would be a B flat major scale in that location. Does it make sense? I hope so. And there's a couple of videos that I've done, of course, about this that you can go back, you can practice with me and learn this. Okay, so now on to modes. As players, songwriters, and improvisers, it's going to be absolutely essential that you know the exact notes to use over any chord. So first we're going to talk about what are the chords in the key of C. And we're going to make these all 7th chords. First, we have a chord built off of C, which is C, E, G, and B, and that's going to be C major 7. Now, it doesn't matter where on the neck that I play those tones. These are all C major 7th chords because they all contain the notes C, E, G, and B. The next chord, built on the 2nd scale degree, D, F, A, and C, is going to be D minor 7. And that, again, just like we just talked about, everywhere I find those tones is going to be a D minor 7. The next chord is going to be starting on E, and it's going to be E, G, B, and D. That's an E minor 7 chord. The 4th one is going to be starting on F, F, A, C, E. That's F major 7. The 5th chord is going to be G, B, D, and F. That's going to be a G dominant 7th. You could also say G7 for short. The 6th chord is A, C, E, and G, which is A minor 7. And finally, we have B, D, F, and A, which is a B minor 7 flat 5 or B half diminished chord. Okay? So here is the secret to modes. If I take the notes of the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? And I play that over any one of these chords, C major 7, D minor 7, B minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, it becomes that particular mode. The mode is actually the chord. So C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, then we have G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, and finally B Locrian. There's an acronym that you can use for this that I find kind of humorous, and that's I don't particularly like modes anymore, Locrian. It's just a way for you to kind of remember this, okay? So let's take a C major scale found here at the 3rd fret, just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So go ahead and play that with me. It's right there on the screen for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play those same notes, and we're going to hear a pad in the background for each one of these chords. Let's take a listen. C Ionian. D Dorian. E Phrygian. F Lydian. G Mixolydian. A Aeolian. B Locrian. What did you notice? Did you notice that it sounded different depending on the chord I was playing? See, what happens is let's just take that C note, okay? When I'm playing the C major 7 chord, that's the root of that chord. But when I play a C over a D minor 7 chord, it's the flatted 7th. It's no longer home. When I play a C over the E minor 7, it's the flatted 6th. No longer home. When I play the C over the F major 7 chord, it's the perfect 5th of F major 7. Doesn't sound like home. When I play it over the G, it's the avoid tone, the 4th, so it doesn't sound very good at all. When I play it over the A minor 7 chord, however, it's the flatted 3rd, so it sounds like part of the chord. And when I play it over the B minor 7 flat 5, half diminished chord, it sounds kind of tense because it's a flat 9 or flat 2 of that chord. You see what happens? So let's take it and expand it. That means if you know the C major scale throughout the entire neck, as you are playing through these chords or over these chords, you are going to be playing all of the different modes. When does the mode switch? It switches when the chord switches. It switches when the chord switches. So it doesn't matter which pattern of the major scale you're in, you are playing the mode that is being played by that chord. So if I'm playing a G7 chord, I can play this melody in pattern, this would have been 3 or 4. I can play it in pattern 5. I can play it in pattern 6. That was in pattern 7. That was in pattern 2. And pattern 3. The same thing. the same phrase in all these different patterns. Where a lot of guitar players get really confused is because they think the D Dorian pattern is the only place you can play D Dorian. It's not true. Listen. Now I'm going to do it with pattern 1. Now I'm going to do it with pattern 7. Now I'm going to do it with pattern 6. Now I'm going to do it with pattern 5. You see what I mean? Hopefully this makes sense. All right, let's move on to the next step. And now I would like to direct your attention to the document that is on the screen. This is from one of the music theory books that I wrote, and if you're looking for any of these documents, you can visit my Patreon. The description below is going to have all that information, and for $5 a month, you can sign up to get access to a lot of the stuff that I show in my videos. On this document, you're going to notice it's color-coded. Ionian is in the lavender color, Dorian is in green, Phrygian is in yellow, Lydian is in blue, orange for Mixolydian, red for Aeolian, and gray for Locrian. So let's say, for example, that we wanted to play something in F Mixolydian. So find F in the orange column, and then go all the way to the left, and you're going to find the key of B flat. So all of my F7 chords are going to be inside of the B flat major scale system, those 7 patterns we talked about. So for B flat, pattern 1 would be at the 6th fret, pattern 2 would be at the 8th fret, pattern 3 would be at the 10th fret, and so on and so forth. So if I want to play something in F Mixolydian, all I would have to do is use the B flat major scales from the patterns that we've learned to be able to follow that. Now, instead of thinking of it as a B flat major scale, as in B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, we can think of it from F, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, okay? Now, the reason we like to think of it like that is because we like a place to start on, but I do want to remind you that our melodies could come from any of the notes. I could slide up to the D first, and then play an A on top. No F was played at all in that melody, but it's still F Mixolydian. I could just sit here on an F note for my whole solo. That's still F Mixolydian because the chord is F7, okay? So you don't have to play the whole scale in order to get the mode. I could just play F major pentatonic because those notes are inside of B flat major. Check it out. F, G, A, C, D, F. Those notes are inside of a B flat major scale, so if an F7 chord is being played, it is still going to be F Mixolydian. So this opens up your entire neck. You now have access to all 7 patterns for F Mixolydian. So let's try a couple more here. What if I wanted to play a song in B natural minor? Most of you would probably go to B and play a scale from there. That's fine, but you have it in so many other locations as well. So find the B in the red column and go all the way to the left, and you're going to find it's D major. So I could take any of my patterns of the D major scale to play over B Aeolian. So this is going to be super helpful. So what you need to do is think globally throughout the entire neck. And what I usually do, or what I did in the very beginning when I was learning all this stuff, is I would do something like, okay, I have to think of B Aeolian, so that's D major. Just think D major, but kind of, focus more on the B notes because that's home. That works for a while, but after a while you have to think of B Aeolian or any of these modes on its own terms, because then we're going to have this very specific notes of that chord, in this case B, D, F sharp, and A, which is an B minor 7 chord, and you can focus on those to come up with the arpeggio, for example, and to kind of isolate those very particular tones that are going to actually speak the chord. Okay? So on this document, you're going to find any single situation in the major scale scheme of things, all 84 modes. So we can take our little question that we had before, play the scale from a particular pattern, and now we can start thinking of it as play a mode from its particular scale degree. So now we're thinking if I wanted to do G Mixolydian from the 3rd scale degree, G Mixolydian is the 5th mode and the key is C major. The 3rd of G Mixolydian is going to be a B tone. So what pattern starts on the note B in the C major scale? And that would be B Locrian. And I have to remind you again and again, I would not call this B Locrian because no B minor 7 flat 5 chord is being played. A G7 chord is being played. So even though we're playing what you would call the B Locrian pattern, we're actually playing G Mixolydian pattern 3. Okay? And so what this kind of thinking does, players that only think of it from the root, like they only play G Mixolydian from the G or they only play B Locrian from the B, you get stuck into that one area. Where's the rest of this in your solo, right? And so this is why this is one of the most confusing things to most players. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. We'll do a few more. I want to play D Dorian from the 4th scale degree. D Dorian's in the key of C. The 4th scale degree is the note G. So what pattern do I play starting on G in C major? I would be playing that G Mixolydian pattern, but we would call it D Dorian pattern 4. Let's try one that's a little bit more difficult. I want to play F sharp Mixolydian from the 3rd scale degree. F sharp Mixolydian is in the key of B major. It's the 5th mode of the key of B major. And so if I go up to its 3rd scale degree, I'm going to get A sharp. What is A sharp in the key of B major? It's the Locrian pattern, but we would call it F sharp Mixolydian from the 3rd scale degree, or pattern 3. Okay? We'll do one more, and then we'll move on. Let's do C Locrian from its flatted 5th. C Locrian is the 7th mode of D flat. So if I think of C Locrian, and I think of its flatted 5th, its flatted 5th is going to be G flat. So what is a G flat scale or pattern in the key of D flat? Well, I'd be starting on G flat and playing pattern 4. And that would be C Locrian from its 5th pattern, which is D flat major from its 4th pattern. And yes, I know this sounds like a lot of work, but I tell you it is so important to be able to do this. A certain melody. So let's just take a melody. And that's a melody from a song that, I guess I won't say the name, but it's from a song that we play in church all the time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this melody, starting on the 4th, it's kind of like 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1 in the key of A. And what I'm going to do is using my different patterns, I'm going to play this melody in as many places as I can. So what I'm doing, I'm moving around to each one of these patterns, and I'm trying to find where that melody is located all over the neck. It's such a good exercise. All of this stuff is going to be totally worth it. So next, we're going to talk about the last thing today, and that's a blues. A lot of you probably think of a blues as a 1-4-5. And so if we did a blues in G, it's G7 to C7 to D7. And while that's true, and that's what we would call it in the street key, it's not actually what's happening. Most blues songs are a dominant 7th blues. If you were to take a pie chart of every blues song ever written, most of the songs would be in a dominant 7th thing. And actual minor blues, like The Thrill Is Gone, those don't happen as often. I would probably venture to say that over 90% of the famous blues songs, everything from Pride and Joy to Sweet Home Chicago, are in a major key, a Mixolydian major. I don't mean like major key like you would use to play, I don't know, Happy Birthday or something, but I mean they are in Mixolydian. Okay, and so G7 is the 5 chord in the key of C. So I need to use G Mixolydian, which is C major, for that bar. Here's a C7 chord, that's the 4 chord of the blues, but it's actually the 5 chord in the key of F because it's C Mixolydian. And then the D7, we have to play D Mixolydian, which is the 5 chord in the key of G. And so in order to play effectively over a blues, I need to play G Mixolydian on the G7, C Mixolydian on the C7, and D Mixolydian on the D7. And if you look at the chart right now, you will see that that is the case. D7 is in the key of, go all the way to the left, G. C7, find that, go all the way to the left, is in the key of F. And G7, go all the way to the left, you'll find it's in the key of C. And so a lot of times, if you just play the minor pentatonic over a blues, it's not going to sound that great over the 1 chord because the 1 chord has a major 3rd. And if you're playing your pinky on that flatted 3rd, it sounds like this. That's not a very good sound, okay? And so a lot of times students will say, yeah, but what about when I hear on the, in the blues, somebody play that phrase. Isn't that minor pentatonic? Well, if you look at it, I'm bending the 4 up to a 5, playing a 5, a 1, and then taking the flat 7 up to a 1. There is no third in that lick. Okay? Now, sometimes we'll use the minor pentatonic on the 4 chord because the 4 chord, C7, is in the key of F. What's the 2 of F? That's G Dorian, which is actually a minor pentatonic shape, right? And that's why you hear people doing that over the 4 chord. Okay? So one of my favorite solos to check out players actually doing this type of thing is going to be Robin Ford's Talk to Your Daughter. And I highly recommend you learning that solo. It'll teach you so much about this, and I think it's really great. All right. Next, I'm just going to play an example of me playing over a blues, and I'm going to use just the modes over each chord progression. Guitar players, thanks for sticking with me today. We have one more thing to cover on parallel modes. Parallel just means, what does C Ionian, C Dorian, C Lydian, C Mixolydian look like? So let's take a look at that because it wouldn't be a complete lesson without talking about it. The major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, is pretty easy to understand. It's a pattern of whole and half steps, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which gave us all the information we were talking about today. And we're going to talk about these modes from brightest to darkest. The brightest mode is Lydian, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. C Lydian is the 4th mode, because remember Lydian is always a 4th mode, in the key of G major. So what is a C major scale with an F sharp? Key signature of G major, right? C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. That's why it's the 4th mode in the key of G. Okay? The next brightest mode is C Ionian, which we've already discussed at length. That's just going to be normal C major. No sharps, no flats. Obviously, the key is C. Moving on to the next one is C Mixolydian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, which ends up being C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat. Our one key with one flat is F major. Mixolydian is always the 5th mode of a key, and so C is the 5th note of the key of F. C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat. That's an F major scale starting on C. Moving on to the next mode, it's the first of our minor modes. It's the brightest of the minor modes, and that's Dorian. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So that is going to be in the key of B flat because it has 2 flats. C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat, C. C is the 2nd note of a B flat major scale. That's why Dorian is the 2nd mode, because it starts in the 2nd scale degree. The next one is going to be Aeolian. C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. Or 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. 3 flats puts us in the key of E flat major. And C is the 6th note of an E flat major scale, and Aeolian is the 6th mode. You see how this works? Next is going to be C Phrygian. 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Or C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. This is going to put us in the key of A flat major. Phrygian is always the 3rd mode of a key, and C natural is the 3rd note of an A flat major. Moving on to C Locrian, we have 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, or C, D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat. Locrian is the 7th mode of a key, and this is going to put us in the key of D flat major. See how this works? So this is one of those things where if we go from brightest to darkest, we notice that Lydian is just a Ionian scale with a sharp 4. Okay, Mixolydian is just Ionian with a flat 7. Dorian is just a Mixolydian with a flat 3. Aeolian is just Dorian with a flat 6. Phrygian is just Aeolian with a flat 2. And Locrian is just a Phrygian with a flat 5. So the exercise for this would be to play Lydian, then Ionian, then Mixo, then Dorian, Aeolian, Phrygian, and finally Locrian. So it would sound like this. And that is all of our parallel modes. This is a really good way for you to come up with a scale on the fly. If you needed, for example, E flat Dorian, you could just frame it as 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, wherever you want. All right, so like I said before, if you want any of this information, or if you would like to go into a deep dive with me, you can get a hold of me through Patreon, and we can set up a lesson time. I'm going to have these documents available over there so you can take a look at them. Right now I have both chapters that have to do with modes available to my paying patrons. So with that, I'm going to let you go for today. Thank you all for staying with me for this really long lesson today, but I think it's really important information because a lot of people just really struggle with this. So I'm glad you took the time to hang out with me today. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I answer as many questions as I possibly can. Again, please like and subscribe. That really helps the channel. Sign up for my Patreon, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.